And politicians have started to take sides as the protests rage on. French schools, colleges, all public schools are banning one of my favorite condiments. They're banning ketchup.
Why are they banning ketchup?
They're banning ketchup because they want to protect traditional Gaelic cuisine.
Wall Street is waiting with bated breath, and I think we all know why. Today, it is expected Facebook will file papers for its IPO.
Brad, thanks so much for being with us. How concerned should America be about a retaliation attack at this point from al-Qaeda?
Is Afghanistan winnable, even with an additional 40,000 troops?
Billions of dollars are now being pledged by the international community to help Haiti recovering from that devastating earthquake which struck 2.5 months ago. John, I imagine there is a heated debate going on among members of Congress about what should be done. We're going to go live to the White House now. John, we'll keep you with us, but let's go to the president. Bank of America and its former CEO are now being sued by the New York Attorney General for misleading investors.
More fuel, perhaps, for the Occupy Wall Street movement. It turns out the bank bailout back in 2008 was way more massive than we thought.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stephanie Sy here at ABC News Now here in New York. We're interrupting your regular programming to bring you some breaking news. And there is the opening bell for this Thursday, March 1st. Hello, everyone. I'm Stephanie Sy in New York. We've got breaking business news. Weekly jobless claims have hit a 4-year low again.
Now.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Rob Nelson.
And I am Stephanie Sy in for Tanya Rivero. She's got the day off. Anonymous hackers are threatening Wall Street today after the demonstrations spread nationwide and worldwide. The growing protests have turned into a political hot-button issue, too, with the parties taking sides.
For the homeowner.
That almost looks staged. And later in the skinny, Tiger Woods certainly did not relish, what a golf fan is accused of doing in California. You'll hear all about the man taken into custody after police say he threw a hot dog at Tiger Woods. Yeah, this is serious. A group of hackers is even promising a cyber attack today. Here's ABC's Cecilia Vega. And politicians have started to take sides as the protests rage on. Republican presidential candidate and businessman Herman Cain had this message for the protesters, quote, "Don't blame Wall Street, don't blame the big banks. If you don't have a job and you are not rich, blame yourself." Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are split along party lines. A boating trip off the Florida Keys turned tragic over the weekend. An 80-year-old woman drowned and 7 others were rescued off the shores of Marathon Key. Rob, wait till you see this video. It took a crew of 9 men several hours to remove a moose that crashed into a New Hampshire backyard and splashed into the pool. Adam Harding of Manchester's WMUR was there.
Something that, as I said, will never happen again in a century.
Very dramatic language from that witness, by the way.
About the moose in his pool.
No, This is actually a huge problem in New England. Actually, John Berman did a piece about this a couple years ago about how moose are encroaching all the time into residential areas. I've never seen a pool rescue.
I've not seen one of the meatball cooked up in an Italian festival this weekend in Ohio may now hold the Guinness record as the world's heaviest.
Where is it? Wait for it. Wait for it.
There it is.
That's it.
Is that it, that thing? It must be in that. I guess it's in there.
It was so heavy, workers used a forklift for the weigh-in at the Italian festival in Columbus. It started out at nearly 1,500 pounds.
Wow.
But after cooking off about 400 pounds of fat, it ended up notching 1,105.5 pounds precisely.
That must have been a huge George Foreman grill to get all that fat off.
Yeah, how do you cook that?
How do you cook it? Well, only a few people got a taste because you'd need a huge refrigerator to keep this meatball, of course, from spoiling.
Now, does that make you hungry or nauseous? 13 years ago, the nation was shocked by Matthew Shepard's death.
That because we still see the gay bullying going on and the suicide, the situation.
There have been other Matthew Shepards. That's just the thing. And President Obama, almost 2 years ago to this date, basically reiterated the 1969 federal law, which makes it a hate crime.
If you're motivated by
perceived sexual orientation. But you're right, it continues to be a problem, bullying especially. It's time for the skinny, and we're starting out with Tiger Woods.
Back in the news.
He was playing at the Fries.com Open in California yesterday when a fan ran towards him, yelled Tiger, and hurled a hot dog, bun and all, towards him.
What is going
The
on?
bun ended up hitting some other guy. The hot dog did not make contact with Tiger, but here was Tiger's response to the hot dog throwing incident. And Sergeant Jose Cardoza told the Associated Press that the man was arrested. That's not the man, that's Tiger. He was arrested for disturbing the peace, which is a misdemeanor, so he was let go, and he didn't really say what his motive was.
And so he said he admitted to having a drink, but was not intoxicated.
He said he
So
wasn't intoxicated. He said he wasn't targeting Tiger, but he yelled Tiger and threw a hot dog at him. And take what you will about the symbolism of it being a hot dog and it being Tiger Woods.
There are many jokes.
There are many jokes.
I'm not trained. Too often, though, we have to talk on the phone, of course, while typing an email, listening to a coworker, all kinds of stuff.
Sorry, what? Multitasking may help us juggle everything, but what is it doing to our brains? ABC's TJ Winnick found some answers.
No, extra,
sorry.
Yeah, extra cheese.
Hey, we have to anchor a show
what's the
here.
problem?
Excuse
7,
me.
6, and 5, 4, 3 off.
I'm trying to get my pizza met.
1.
Where's the sandwich? Well, residents of Cairo are hoping for a calmer day after at least 24 people were killed in riots across the city. New details are emerging this morning about Amanda Knox's 4 years in prison. She revealed the secrets in an explosive letter. After weeks of warnings about dangerously dry conditions, Texans are cleaning up after a weekend of heavy downpours. Up to 3 inches of rain fell in some areas. The wet weather forced a delay of the American League playoffs between the Texas Rangers and the visiting Detroit Tigers. Game 2 of that series is now set to take place this afternoon. Up to 8 inches of snow fell on Colorado over the weekend. The early snowstorm came as a surprise to many who were more focused on picking out pumpkins for Halloween. Instead, they ended up breaking out their shovels and windshield scrapers, and many of them had a tough time getting around to those icy roads.
I can't believe we're
Yeah,
back
it's
to
weird.
that time of year again. Really? Oh, I can't believe winter.
What are you talking about? It's been nice here in New York.
It's been
That music means it's time for some football and a look at the results of this weekend's World News Now football picks competition. All right, we start off in Houston where the Raiders were in town taking on the Texans, and this was an important game for the Raiders, of course. They were playing this one for Al Davis, who we all know passed away over the weekend, and they did him proud. With just 2 seconds on the clock and trailing by 5, Texans QB Matt Schaub is looking to punch in the game winner, but instead throws the pick to Michael Huff. I'm told Al Davis used to say, "Just win, baby." And that's what the Raiders do, 25-20. It is that time.
My
and
favorite time.
I take any opportunity I can to make fun of French people,
I like
mostly
that.
because I'm jealous of their culture. But listen, French schools, colleges, all public schools are banning one of my favorite condiments. They're banning ketchup.
Why are they banning ketchup?
They're banning ketchup because they want to protect traditional Gaelic cuisine.
Oh, oui.
So the only time they're allowed to have ketchup is when they have French fries, which is only once a week. Otherwise, banned from the cafeteria.
You mean these freedom
and Rob
fries?
is saying to the French, "Suck it," clearly, as he eats his French fries. So what would you do if you were hanging out in Lower Manhattan and you saw written in skywriting "Last Chance"? Would that freak you out?
And, yeah,
it
living here in
freaked
New York,
a lot
yeah.
of New Yorkers out on Sunday. A
Yeah.
skywriter wrote "Last Chance." You see the picture there. Thoughts of terrorism,
Yeah, of
obviously.
course, yeah.
And apparently this was an artist named Kim Beck who was trying to prove a point about the economy, and this whole thing was sort of an art project, actually. It had nothing to do with terrorism, so rest assured, Lower Manhattan was safe this weekend.
These days, you see something like that in the skies of Manhattan. I totally
Not
get why
smart.
people are freaking out.
Yeah.
But it's all in the name of art.
Of
So,
art,
yes,
yeah.
very nice. See, pretentious French people, pretentious artists. It's all over. All
Say
over
that.
you to say.
I only said that about the French. I like artists.
Here, have a fry.
All right, that's the news for this half hour. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stephanie Sy here at ABC News Now here in New York. We're interrupting your regular programming to bring you some breaking news. If you live along the East Coast, at around 2 o'clock this afternoon, you may have felt a significantly strong jolt. That was an earthquake. I'm going to bring in Louis Martinez, who is at the Pentagon. 2 seconds later, Louis, I stood up and I felt the ground shaking here in New York City. It was unbelievable. Describe what you felt. But we're hearing it was a 5.9, and
I'll tell you, coming from Southern California, that's a pretty big earthquake. Did people flee out of the building? You know, did you see people go under their desks and panic in that way? It doesn't seem at this point, it's been about 40 minutes since the quake struck, that there is substantial property damage, and we haven't heard about any casualties. But you bring up a good point about structural safety, and I should mention also, having been through a couple of these earthquakes, aftershocks, that the Park Service has just said that all National Mall monuments and memorials are closed and have been evacuated after this earthquake, which we believe was centered around central Virginia, just northwest of Richmond. More information crossing the wires that federal officials have actually taken 2 nuclear reactors offline near the epicenter in Virginia. I assume that's as a precaution, but with a 5.9 earthquake in a place that's not used to it and may not be retrofitted for an earthquake, that's what we've done. We're hearing a high volume of 911 calls coming in New York City as well as Washington, and officials urging people not to call 911 unless they really have an emergency. We're hearing about ground stops at Reagan National Airport in Washington, as well as at Newark and Kennedy airports. They have actually evacuated their control towers under the direction of the FAA as a precaution. LaGuardia is normal, but clearly what we're seeing now is officials sort of scratching their heads and thinking, okay, just in case, maybe we should stop things for a little while and assess the damage.
The East Coast does not feel like a very good place to be right now.
No, I mean, and not even Martha's Vineyard, frankly, is immune from that, because I hear the president, or I don't know if he felt it, but I know our producer in Martha's Vineyard surely felt it. Just a recap for everyone. This was an earthquake that we are hearing reports that this earthquake was felt from New Haven, Connecticut, to Rhode Island, to Martha's Vineyard, to here in New York City, to down in the Carolinas. And I just want to update you on the state of those nuclear reactors. The federal officials actually automatically shut down 2 nuclear reactors that were near the epicenter in Virginia, not because of any damage, but because of what's called an unusual event. That's the lowest category of a possible threat in 4 emergency classifications that they have for these nuclear plants. They also temporarily evacuated government buildings in D.C. and are going floor to floor to assess damage there. There was a burst pipe that was reported at the Pentagon. But other than that, we are not hearing any reports of casualties or major damage that has been done. We're going to keep you updated here on ABC News Now, so stay with us. Thanks for watching. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Nightline Twittercast. I'm Stephanie Tsai. Thanks for joining us. Arguably the most pressing international conflict facing President Barack Obama, the 8-year and running war in Afghanistan, which a lot of people are asking, is Afghanistan winnable even with an additional 40,000 troops? What do you think of this idea of co-opting the Taliban instead of fighting the Taliban? Go to one of the tweets that we have here from a Blue Pearl, who writes, "We need to withdraw from Afghanistan, period." Wall Street is waiting with bated breath, and I think we all know why. Today, it is expected Facebook will file papers for its IPO, setting the stage for one of the biggest offerings in the history of internet companies. Well, that leads to my next question, which is who is going to get these shares right off the bat? Jeff, we had a number of other tech companies like LinkedIn, Zynga, and Groupon all go public last year, all created a lot of buzz. Did we learn anything from those IPOs?
Not to chase IPOs. Most of those were...
Especially ones in the internet space, is what you're saying. Yes, thanks so much for both of your insights today.